This is Dr. Justin Moody from the Dentists, Implants, and Worms podcast and owner of Implant Pathways. You are listening to hashtag POD, Podcasts of Dentistry.
This podcast is sponsored by Rocketbook. I hate wasting paper. If I could, I would not use pen and paper at all. But I love the feeling of writing and drawing with pen on a nice paper. Somehow, I feel I'm connected to it, but always hated the fact that I cannot bring my drawings or ideas to the digital world. Now, Rocketbook is the exact amalgamation of both the physical and the virtual world. Hear this. You can draw or write on the Rocketbook, take a picture with the Rocketbook app, and magically it cleans the picture and sends it to Google Drive, Evernote, Dropbox, OneDrive, OneNote, Slack, Box, iCloud, iMessage, or even classic email. Just configure the symbols once, and that's it. You snap a picture, and your drawings or plans or notes are right in the Drive or Dropbox or anything that you choose to send it to. Once you're done, simply use a moist towel. Yes, a moist paper towel, and you can erase it, only to be used again. Simply saving paper. Simply head over to podcastsofdentistry.com/rocketbook. Welcome to hashtag POD, Podcasts of Dentistry. I'm your host, Dr. Panks. Today's guest is none other than Dr. Kianor Shah. If I start talking about his degrees, I would run out of alphabets. In this episode, he opens up a lot, clinically, business-wise, and even spiritually. He shares how he got his 50,000 followers. Heck, I barely scratched the surface of number of followers that he has. He also talks about his typical week or month and his way of being the most productive, both at work and businesses. He talks about his businesses or ventures like Implant's Extraction Academy and Global Summit 2020. He also shares his reasons of working on these specific businesses. He also wants to share with us what was his actual motivation to do MBA and how that helped him. He also talks about what business actually is and his passionate opinion about corporate dentistry. Being involved with the corporate world, he shares his opinions about DSOs. Not only he shares his successes, but his failures, his favorite quotes, advices to younger self, and many, many more insights into his psyche. I hope you enjoy the podcast as much as I do. Now please listen to Dr. Kianor Shah. I keep hearing back from people and saying that you've got 50,000 followers. Oh, I mean, what platforms and how do you get so many followers? Let's start that, because that'll be interesting. Nobody would ask you that, right?
So it was a accumulation of very hard work for the past 13 years.
Yeah.
But mostly heavily involved on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram.
Yeah.
And once you start standing up for something, you'd be surprised how many people start following your activities on a regular basis.
Interesting. So you started on LinkedIn, you said, or everywhere?
Sort of simultaneously.
Okay.
Develop the project simultaneously. Okay. And with time, with a lot of posting and posting cases and relevant topics related to our noble profession, the other side of the DSO crowd started following me.
Got it. That makes sense. Okay. I think that's a very interesting thing, because I haven't seen any dentist having so many followers. So that'll be interesting to figure out how you did it. But yes, time, 13 years, and that's a good start.
Time and hard work, like anything else.
Sure. Now, I know you are into X number of places. You are on top 100 talks. You are doing GI Summit 2020. You are, doing, implants, dentistry, sedation, you name it, and you're doing it. Now, my question is, what is your typical week or month looking right now?
7 days a week. I'm usually booked. I practice Saturdays, Sundays. Also, on Tuesdays, it gives me the other days to actually attend to my family, do all of the business-related things that I want to do, the innovations, the academies. I also operate the International Extraction Academy.
Yeah.
I created that life for myself by not following the DSO model, and we'll get into that a little bit more further.
Yeah. So, did you have a set schedule? Like, okay, Mondays I'm doing blah blah blah, Tuesday I'm doing that, or it's whatever comes across, or whatever time permits you?
What differentiates a lot of the more successful doctors, even in their clinical practice and their personal lives, is that they have a certain set of schedule for everything.
Yeah.
They have systems for everything. They know where they need to be, when, and they have a very clear mind on how to execute. Yes, on Mondays is a good catch-up day for me. I don't practice on Mondays. Mostly, it's the beginning of the week. It's where most of the action is. A lot of press releases that come out. You got to follow the industry, follow up with all your leads, and start your week off strong. So Mondays I attend more to the business side of things. On Tuesdays I practice. I catch the crowd from the weekends. Usually I catch them on Saturdays and Sundays. I practice half day on Sundays and full day on Saturdays. So it's quiet. My email box is not being blown up with 100 emails. On Saturday, Sunday I can give the patients my full focus. I come around during the week and I use my 3-4 days of practice, and the rest is with family and business and phone and fax and email. I interact with hundreds and hundreds of doctors and executives on a monthly basis.
Sure. So this is interesting. You talk to a dentist and say you want to work on Saturday. Forget about Sunday. That's not even in the question. And you're working actually on Saturday and Sunday. Did you say you work on Tuesday too?
Yes. Yes. Sundays I catch all of the weekend emergencies in that crowd in our area because nobody else wants to work. So if you want to be different and if you want to succeed, you can't just say I'm different because I have a CT scanner, I have a 3D scanning machine in my office. You actually have to be different. And just imagine you approach somebody and you in a room of 100 people and you say, hey, look at everybody around me. I'm different than them. You're going to think they're a slime ball, right? Would you not?
True.
So you not only say, be different, you have to, those are the little things that make the difference. Patting the patient on the shoulder, bringing them blanket, doing all the things that, you wouldn't expect other doctors to do. And right. in a corporate setting, that's very hard to do because it's not a customized relationship. It's a standardized relationship. And you have to answer to 100 people. You can't work when you want. You can't build and create the life that you want. And it's a threat to our profession, to our independence.
Yeah, we'll get to corporate dentistry obviously later. But I still want to continue your day-to-day weekly thing because that's very, very interesting for somebody who's working on Saturday, Sunday, trying to, as you said, you have to be different. Working on Tuesday. What about Wednesday, Thursday, Friday? What are you doing on those days?
Corporate stuff, normally, unless I have emergencies and the girls want to come in. We have a full mouth rehabilitation. We bring an anesthesiologist in to put them out. Otherwise, those days are reserved for business because they're business, the 8 to 5 grind. So I like to take my time those days and attend to outstanding matters. And also, you have to also take time out of your life with family.
Yep.
So most of my activities happen during the week with my beautiful little boy and girl and my wife.
You said you do handle business. Now, any specific businesses you're spending time on? What are the businesses you're working on Wednesday? I mean, is it the business of dentistry in the dental office or somebody or something else?
Well, one of my core competencies is bringing doctors together. My sole mission now is to fight for my colleagues for the threats that we face in the profession. So my business activities relate accordingly. Yeah. For doctors to become more capable, more skilled to be able to compete in this environment, they have to get additional skills, be it in ortho, be it in surgery, be it in endo. So I try to create bridges where we take doctors that are interested in extractions, for example, and help them become excellent surgeons, which A, increases their value in the market,
sure.
and B, gives them the opportunity to create the kind of life they want for themselves. So if they are interested in extractions, they're fearful to do implants, we have the International Extraction Academy, where we think differently now about exodontia. And we have 9 or 10 workshops next year around the country. We just finished our last one in Houston last weekend. These doctors come in, we do workshops, we do an online series for them. We create toolboxes for them, which I did, for example, with the Global Implantology Summit last year, where they got to meet a lot of the KOLs, interact with the KOLs. And that's one thing we are lacking in our profession is people to actually come out that have business acumen. They don't teach that to us in dental school. And all of these corporate outfits and other organizations take advantage of the fact that my colleagues don't have the business acumen needed to operate and succeed in the market. I went back and got an MBA to learn half of this stuff. And I want to pass on as much information as possibly can to our younger generation colleagues so they're not molded the wrong way.
Got it. So
those are my business activities. I mean, amongst other projects that I do in stem cells and so on.
So basically, we're talking about the business. You basically spend time on International Extraction Academy, the GI Summit. Any other businesses you want to talk about, like where you spend your time on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday?
Between now and January 1, we're selecting the top 100 doctors based on credentials. It's a peer-selected operation.
Yeah.
We have an advisory board, and this peer selection process is devoid of any financial interest of special interest. It's a pure, clean operation of what we believe the top guys are that are innovators, educators, scientists, surgeons, researchers in our profession, to bring them together for a very good cause. But that's a surprise to be seen next year.
Right. Now, this is a very interesting thing. Bringing, working in Global Summit 2020, where you do not have a financial interest. The key word is having no financial interest in it. Number 2, top 100 docs from all over the world. I looked up all the pages. There are pages and pages of people who are from all over the world. Slovakia, Japan, and you just name it. My question is, what is your motivation to create such a...
Over 60 countries. The motivation is very simple. You don't have a coherent operation in dentistry that essentially brings together individual sole proprietors, doctors that are doing good things on their own. So we need to create more of these type of think tanks that can help determine the future of our profession. Or this corporate infestation is going to turn us into downgraded technicians. So we need to have people that stand up and take a position. And I intend to do that. You have other companies that do this kind of thing, but it's a paper play type scenario. We didn't take a dime from anybody for this effort, and all of the experts are not donating anything.
Yeah.
So it's something that I'm doing with my time that hopefully will bear fruit for humanitarian causes in the future.
Okay, so you're bringing people around together and you're trying to motivate them to do something. Do you have a plan, or do you just want to bring them in first and then you see how that is going to eventually pan out?
Well, we are going to publish this in numerous different areas on January 1, 2020. Also, I'm talking to a lot of, like the American Cancer Society. I'm wanting to see if there's an angle there to see if we can raise some funds for oral cancer research. Nothing concrete yet, but rest assured, there's going to be a lot of press releases out, and a lot of people are going to be seeing what we are doing and what we're trying to accomplish. The first task in this step is to gather the 100, and we're at like 81 right now, and our deadlines are coming up. So when the selection process is complete and the 100 are done and the cover goes up,
Yeah.
We are going to be spending all of 2020 to promote and see if we can find common causes, and that's the intention there.
Got it. No, that makes sense. All right. So Monday business, Tuesday practice, Saturday, Sunday is practice. That's great. So now let's switch gears a little bit from social media and all your business partnership. Let's go back to a little clinical here, and talking about implantology. I mean, come on, I can talk about anything, but I think that's what you do the most, right? Implants. If you don't mind to share, how did you start with implantology? I mean, you do quite a bit. So you graduated from Southern Illinois, am I right?
Correct.
Yeah. And then what happened? How did you get into the first implant? How did you put in the first implant? Where did you learn? And what other courses that you end up doing, getting into the implantology, what you are right now?
So 6 months out of school, I purchased my first practice. And I believe it was in 2006-07, mid-2007, Henry Schein person walked in and said, "Hey, there's a course in Chicago. Do you want to go attend it? It's 2 to 3 days." And it was Camlog at the time. And I said, "Yeah, sure. I'm always looking for continuing education to better myself." I was learning a lot at the time from a senior doctor that was associating and another doctor that did the sale at the time.
Yeah.
And I decided to go up there. And when you know it's your calling, it's your calling. I was in that course for 2 days, and I thought, man, this could really help me build a career. And that's where it all started. And it took it, like anything else, a learning curve to get to a point where you go from, like when they taught us the root canals, the central, the lateral, the canine. You start with single unit implants, and next thing you know, you're doing all on 4s and all on 8s and hybrids and what have you. So my interest was really, really high in extractions when I was in dental school. So I kind of saw that a lot of my colleagues that liked extractions ended up doing a lot of implants.
Okay.
Now, I left Illinois in 2010 and came to California and started taking a lot of fellowships and masterships because the tables had turned there. Over there, you really need headhunters to actually find qualified doctors for you, because there's a lack of the volume that we have here in California. So the tables have turned. In California, either you have skills or you have your own practice, or you're going to go to Texas or Nevada or somewhere to get some experience. So the employers have such an abundance of these multiple dental schools here in the state of employees to choose from that come out of school with $400,000 or $500,000 worth of debt, that it's a different environment. So your only option of survival is to up your credentials and your skills. So I do practice in all disciplines of dentistry now, and have so for a very long time.
So you basically started with one simple course, which was sponsored by Henry Schein Camlog, and from there, did you join any other implant courses? What other implant courses, if you remember?
I've been to, I couldn't even start telling you, from New York to Miami to LA. I was a big fan of Mish. I did a lot of following of Mish. But you have to everybody has different opinions about different topics. You have to go to different courses, and then kind of develop your own opinion.
Okay.
But that was the whole purpose of the global summit, is bringing all these KOLs to LA and having these 500 plus attendees come out and kind of meet them and decide for themselves who and how they're going to go with. I went also to the California Implant Institute with Dr. Faraj. That was really good for a year course to get all the basics in. Then I went to Mexico twice. So lots of different, they have like surgical courses depending on who you're working with.
Yeah.
There's many. So it's not hard to find, and you have to start somewhere.
Got it.
Some go to universities for a year and get a GPR or an advanced implant training. and some do it slowly over time and go to different programs and get it that way. But I can tell you that there's 1 out of 3 Americans are missing at least one tooth. Yeah. There's a huge market, implantology, and it's possibly the hottest market right now in dentistry.
Yeah, we all agree upon that. Now, are you teaching implants too? Like, are you teaching?
Yes, we teach implants as part of actually the Extraction Academy curriculum.
Okay.
We teach mostly immediate implants. It always blows my mind how you take a tooth out and you have a natural guide, and people are afraid to put the implant into that natural guide. So immediate implants, we teach a lot of that.
Yeah, got it. So that is at International Extraction Academy. Okay. Got it.
Yes, and we also have Global Implantology Institute, where our partners put up a lot of courses, and essentially, not every indication is obviously immediate. You got to sometimes graft and sinus lift, and do a lot of other things.
So somebody who's graduated like 3 to 5 years out of dental school, they haven't done any implants. How do you think among your group, like at International Extraction Academy and or GI Institute, what do you think they should follow first? Is there a specific curriculum sequence that they should follow at one of your academies to learn implants and do what you or get close to what you do?
So online series, what we did is we put on an online series at the Extraction Academy, where we go from essentially all of the different topics, starting with anatomy, all the way through the complex implantology scenarios by leaders and experts of that particular specialization. So you have phlebotomy in there, pharmacology, anesthesia, and all the different topics, sort of a refresher before they come to the workshops. And then they come to the workshops, and from there, it just all takes off. And then also I work with Dr. Garg with the International Dental Implant Academy, and he's got different programs, fellowships, masterships, diplomates. That's one I would recommend. I myself went through the ICI program when Dr. Mish was still around.
Yeah.
So there's many different organizations to look into.
Yeah, got it. Got the idea. So start with online courses, then go to workshops, and then probably go to Mexico or any of those Dominican Republic long programs. That is what you are advising.
Absolutely. You got to get your hands wet too. If you got like a shoulder training opportunity anywhere in the country, or even live placement yourself nearby or outside the country, I highly recommend those, because you go up there and you place like 20, 30 implants. And next thing you know, following Monday you come back and you're just completely full of knowledge and information, and it helps.
Great. Now, I heard that you said that you do all kinds of dentistry in a day when you're practicing. What does your typical day in a dental office look like? Is it all implants? Is it all-on-4 full mouth rehabs? Or you're doing root canals and like surgical extractions and so on?
All of the above. I treat my patients with every bit of information and knowledge that I've gained over the years, taking countless continuing education courses and training. So we do whatever the patient needs, especially apprehensive patients. When they come in and they have had other problems at other offices, I'm in a position to put them into deep sedation and do their whole mouth in one setting.
Got it.
It takes a certain amount of skill, certain amount of patience. Sometimes we're chairside for 7 hours straight. Obviously, patient is not necessarily 7 hours on her, but you're still working, temporizing, cleaning up, taking x-rays, taking photos. So when you up your skills, it becomes a very nice scenario where you can render the care. But sometimes, very rarely, a case, especially my pathology cases, I refer out to the radiologist to review.
Yeah.
And if I have some complex cases that I'd rather have the oral surgeons do, I refer it over there. But that's not very often.
Got it. So what you're saying is that you do a full comprehensive treatment for the one patient in a day, maybe 1 or 2 patients a day, and then you're doing everything. Just sedate them, either in deep sedation or bring in an anesthesiologist, right? Or you do it by yourself and then follow it up with all the procedures that's needed for that patient in a day. Am I right to understand that?
Yes, if you have patients in those case scenarios, yes. Otherwise, we're treating them just like any other dental office.
Okay.
And in a comprehensive fashion.
Okay, so primarily, do you treat them under sedation, and you do the big cases, or you do like a regular general dentist, a bread and butter dentistry, along with some implants, along with some root canals and whatnot? I'm just trying to understand because your time is so valuable, being busy so many places. How do you make it happen in your office? That's what I'm trying to understand.
I'm still humble enough to do my MODs, yes. I like to care for my patients with a comprehensive approach. Their time is as valuable as my practice. You're no different than an ex-doctor. You have to give them the best sort of treatment under the standards of care. So, yes, if a patient walks in and needs 5 fillings, I'll do them. If a patient comes in and needs bilateral sinus lifts and a full arch upper and a full arch lower, I do them. If they need a complete 26 crowns because they have some sort of defect in their mouth from birth or otherwise, we do them. Root canals, doing a molar root canals, like doing 2 premolars or 2 centrals, really.
Got it. Mm-hmm.
We do them. But what I don't do is what other doctors do, run between chairs. I don't run between 5 chairs. I only have 2 chairs.
Okay.
And those 2 chairs, I generate more revenue than I did when I had 6 offices, each with 4 or 5 chairs in them.
This is so interesting. You have only 2 chairs and you do all kind of general dentistry, along with, not to mention FMRs, but you still generate more revenue. This seems like a little difficult to digest for my audience, I should say. I'm sure you're doing it. You've been doing it for such a long time. But how's that becoming? Where are you getting such patients who are willing to spend so much time and money to do such great
They
procedures?
don't spend so much time and so money. Actually, I'm contracted with insurance companies just as the next guy is.
Okay.
But I work efficiently and effectively with systems in place. The loud noises in the market would want you to believe that unless you come out of school with $500,000 in debt and don't join them, that you're doomed because you ain't going to survive. I took $100,000, built a beautiful office with a bit of CT in it that's worth more than $100,000, and I'll explain to you soon how I did that.
Yeah.
But the tenant improvements I allocated to the landlord, bought 2 very inexpensive chairs to get started, and the $100,000, our second year, we were close to hitting $1 million. When I had my 6 offices with some 80% overhead, 92 employees, I almost had a heart attack. Even though the systems were in place, you get fires. That's what you're putting out all the time. Fires. And you don't have yourself control of the flow. And your reputation and your license on the line. And I'm so glad now that I'm working 3 days a week. I make more money out of 2 chairs.
Sure.
I accept most insurances.
So what is the difference between your way of working when you're accepting the same insurance like me, doing the same bread and butter dentistry like me or any other dentist? Obviously you got more skills. Okay, let's keep that for a second aside. How were you still able to make $1 million in the second year of your opening up the office when you started it? You see what I'm saying?
Close to $1 million. We're not done with the calendar year yet, but we're pretty close. I spent quite a bit of time with my new patients. I sit down and I try to really get into the reasons why they're there, what their issues are, not what I learned in dental school, but really binding with the patients because they have different priorities than we do.
Okay.
I barely spend anything on marketing. It's all word of mouth because little things that we do in the office, which sets us apart from everybody else. I don't run between patients. When I schedule 10 patients in my column and maybe 8 patients with the assistant during a day, be follow-ups, so forth, I spend my full attention on the patient. I don't numb them. I run into the other room and then come back and realize the patient's not numb. Patients aren't dumb. They know. They pick up on the smallest things. So they get my full attention. So the marketing factor is almost eliminated.
Okay.
I do quadrant dentistry when I can. It costs $9-10 to set up a room. So if you have a patient there and you have the ability to do the work, and they're willing to have the work done, then you're in a better position to do more in one setting than continuously bringing them back and setting up and setting down. And every one part of my operation is done this way: efficiency, efficacy, better systems, wiser treatment, and full attention to the patients.
So basically, you're sitting with the patient, you're spending time with the patient, and offering them, him or her, a full treatment plan. But how are you, able to? I don't want to use the word sell, but essentially it is what it is. How are you able to sell such a lengthy, complicated treatment plan? It could be $5,000, $10,000, $20,000, maybe more actually, with what you're doing. What is your
trust? The single word is trust. The patients, when you interact with them and they gain trust in you, you have to be confident in yourself. If you're not confident in yourself, how do you expect other people to be confident in you? So when the confidence is there, you go over three or four different options for them. You can hear this option A, B, C, and D.
Okay.
Sometimes they accept one of them. Sometimes they don't accept any of them. But I don't play the games that are thought by corporations. Or try to close them right there. Make sure they don't leave with an appointment. Give them options, a relaxed environment. I joke with them and laugh and have a good time. And at the end, next thing I know, the whole family comes here. They're all spending money and nobody questions anything. We don't have any issues with people with money and stuff. They're like family around here.
Okay.
So we have a completely different approach to treatment, if you want to use the word sales. But I like to develop friendships because these patients, I was looking at someone's online stuff yesterday. Some patient from 20 years ago came back and was attacking them for poor work and all of that. So, what goes around goes around.
Okay.
Versus around. So
that makes sense.
So you're going to have one pissed off patient that's going to tell the whole world, and you're going to have one good patient that's going to bring 10 people around. So you want to have a lot of the little things count. So days, sometimes I work 4 days a week when I have a big case that's a $30,000-$40,000 case. I come in on a Friday and do it with the girls and the anesthesiologist. So those days plus the normal standard operating days, you'd be surprised how quick you hit the numbers that you like.
Makes sense. That makes sense. Now, since we're talking about dentistry and whatnot, I was listening to another podcast, and you said that you were able to quadruple the first practice that you bought in the first year of your graduation.
Correct.
4 times is huge. And if I remember correctly, you said you bought it for $400,000. And then even if you did 3 times, it's like almost more than $1 million.
1.6 first year.
There you go. Thank you. So 400,000 to 1.6. Tell me the magic. I'm sure people would be interested there.
That's really, really aggressive dedication. And I was working sometimes 6 days a week, and for me it was fun. For example, for patients to come in and do 4 wisdom teeth in between serious procedures like a root canal, or for me again serious procedures. They're all serious procedures, but
relatively.
So 1,000 here and 1,000 there, and I worked 6 days a week. Emergency lines were open. If you in that town wanted dental care, you could call and get in the same day or the next day or via the emergency. And we had 7 doctors in that town. It's a small town. By the time the office was cranking, we had over 50% of the market share because we were attending to these people. We had a good reputation, and things were expanding from there very rapidly. So, and I used some of those funds to buy a second office and do the same.
Okay, let me stop you here. So you graduated from Southern Illinois, and then within 6 months you bought this office. Do you think your skills were really that great at that time when you graduated from dental school that you were able to do 4 wisdoms and root canals in a very predictable way? Is that where you think you did good? I'm just curious.
Yes, that was a good move. The next move wasn't probably the smartest move, but getting out of dental school, associating with another doctor, and then buying your own practice was probably the best thing I did instead of joining the corporation.
Yeah.
Trying to own empires is where a lot of doctors go wrong. They see these hedge fund backed, non-licensed entities that waltz into our profession like they were invited or or a guest.
Yes.
And they make billions of dollars. These are now billion-dollar entities. They're selling shares to retirement funds in Canada, and you got them popping up everywhere. It's a big threat to our profession. And they see that, and they think they can go out and own an empire and buy 5, 10, 50 offices and retire. And they don't know at what tremendous human cost that comes at. I wanted to build offices in large box retail settings like Meijer and Sears, and I actually successfully built a couple in Kmart and Meijer, and had a bit of a conflict with Walmart in 2013. But empire building is probably not the best way. My intent was to open access to the underprivileged, especially in the Midwest and others where you have state-funded programs where these DSOs would actually be a good option to actually. They claim that they want to increase access to patients. And the next thing you know, they're all headquartered in Southern California under sun and palm trees and all competing for patients there. There's nobody in the Midwest. So if the DSOs were actually working with the government for government-funded programs, it would be a good scenario for doctors to go and associate with them for a year or two and then get out and do their own thing. But
no, I'm still trying to understand how you were. Let's go back to. I know we can continue talking about the DSOs and the corporate dentistry a little later, but I want to focus on the mindset and the success that you were able to achieve. Within 3 years, you had 6 offices. Your first office you quadrupled. You think? Is there any other reason that you were able to do it apart from your skills, apart from you being available almost 24 hours? Do you think any other skills that people should have to get to that level?
Well, I have a very addictive personality when I get into a project of I'm fully dedicated. I go in there. Very intensely. I mean, I would stay till 8 or 9 at night doing charts and planning for the next day. It takes dedication was hands down the most one. I don't think I can do that now at this age because I don't have that energy like I did. But
I got it.
Out of dental school, you come out and it's exciting, and you're a doctor now, and you want to build a life for yourself and a career, and you want to get married and buy a house and a car. Your priorities are a little different. Once you age and you get experience, and nothing trumps experience, you realize the more important things in life.
Sure. Now, I think I want to go a little back here, trying to understand, were you always that hardworking? I'm trying to ask you is because you're from Iran, right? You were in Iran before coming down here. I'm trying to understand, were you... is it because of your culture that you were hardworking as what you are, or you're dedicated, or it's because your parents instilled that hard work, dedication thing in you? I'm trying to find out.
I mean, in the Persian culture, the parents will tell you all your life you got to become an engineer or a doctor or a lawyer or something.
Yeah.
But my story is of a unique nature because I left Iran when I was 9 years old. I grew up in Germany, and I did my high school in Germany.
Yeah.
So I picked up some of the European culture, and then I came here for undergrad and dental school and fellowships and all of that stuff. So between the Persian, the German culture-ish countries, and the U.S., I had to work hard. Not everybody gets a golden spoon in life, and not everybody gets the same cards.
Sure.
And every decision that you make in life will end in who you are.
Got it.
Who you become.
Yeah.
So I was the valedictorian of my high school. I graduated undergrad with a 4.0. I did my MBA with a 4.0.
Yeah.
So for me, a B was not an option.
And understand. So basically, I think the way I see it is because you were exposed to so many cultures, your own culture, Germany, not to mention, and then probably because of your upbringing, I believe you were so dedicated and working hard to doing. So bottom line is hard work and dedication. There is no substitute for that. Am I saying that correct? Okay, great. Now,
and never lose enthusiasm when you fail. Keep coming back. Just keep getting up and coming back stronger, harder. It doesn't kill you.
Makes you stronger. Makes you stronger. Great. Now, we're still going back to your story here. So within 3 years, you had 6 offices, and essentially you sold them. And you moved to California.
Sold the assets. I had a little bit of thing with Walmart, and there were some disputes about which I can't really get into that too because they're related to settlement agreements.
Yes, fair enough.
But we moved to California with my wife, to Southern California, and started traveling and doing surgical procedures for doctors. I've been probably in over 300 offices. Likely more, just doing all of the complex endos and implants and all of that, and just gaining knowledge and gaining an understanding of what my colleagues really struggle with. So that was a very life-rewarding experience since moving from Illinois to California.
Sure. I really want to learn from that experience. But you moved to California. What made you choose California? You could have been in any other Midwest country or a neighboring state, all the way to the West Coast. I mean, I'm trying to see why.
I've been trying to run away from the cold all my life.
Okay.
In Iran, it was cold, and in Germany, it was raining all the time. And I ended up in Illinois, and you can get pneumonia from walking to your mailbox over there.
Now, that makes sense. One of my friends, he actually moved to Florida on the far East Coast for the same reason. Okay, so... that makes sense.
Definitely the weather.
Definitely
what
the weather.
You're willing to pay for it.
Right. Now you're encouraging me to move either of the two states, East Coast or the West Coast.
Yeah, it's brutal in the Chicago area, and we had a couple of offices there, and Southern Illinois and Rockford and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
Yes, so I'm glad that 15-year phase in Illinois is over now, and I don't have to worry about what I'm going to dress up as the next day because it's always warm here.
Right. And after that, you ended up doing MBA in international business.
Yes. When I was traveling to these doctors' offices, probably 3-4 days a week, I would at nighttime do the MBA online.
Okay. It was online. Okay. Yeah.
And some on-campus courses.
Sure. Yeah. So what was your motivation to learn MBA? I mean, do MBA? Were you always business-oriented? Your family was business-oriented? That's why? I mean...
No, I was very naive in business. I thought everybody had good intentions and I could work with certain groups, like these fortune groups that I worked with. And let me be very frank with you. There is nothing naive about business. It's a very, very, very tough. There's a lot of, what is the right word here? It's not coming to mind, but it's a very, very tough ordeal, business. Nobody is going to be naive about it, and if they have an opportunity to get you, they'll get you.
They'll get you.
Especially the corporate environments, yes. So and when we get to the discussions of the corporate scenario, that really left a real scar in me.
Yeah, bad taste,
Bad taste. So I wanted to go and learn what this is all about. They didn't teach us anything. It was one course in dental school about business.
Nah.
And then I went and learned how this all really, really works. So an international business was my emphasis, and I did it at nighttime and excelled above and beyond in that program.
Right.
And I came out and have more in my toolbox now.
Got it. So that makes sense. Maybe because of your experience at the Walmart and Kmart. While you were at Illinois and you wanted to...
Sears.
Yeah.
Meyer.
Sears and Myers, yeah. And probably that's the reason you wanted to learn why they behaved the way they behaved, probably. That makes sense. That does make sense. Great.
Yes.
So now let's go switch a little gear about a little philosophical part of it, right? Now, everybody says, look for the life that you want to live, right? What is the life that you want to live? How did you come to deciding when you were younger? I mean, come on. Obviously, you had some vision, some values when you graduated from dental school. I'm trying to ask the younger Dr. Kianor Shah, when you graduated, what was your thought process at that time, or did you have any at that time or not, to be the successful life that you were looking to have?
So, cardiac surgery is what I wanted to get into since I was like 4 or 5. My parents still tell me a lot of stories about wanting to be a doctor and this, that, something I might have said when I was a child.
Sure.
But for me, there was no other option. I happened in dentistry because my best friend in undergrad ended up going to dental school, and I followed him the next year, and here we are today. But I wanted to help people, and I wanted to have, as I got a little older, to have the freedoms that we enjoy as dentists, unless, of course, you work for a corporate setting.
Yeah.
The freedoms to self-determination, to have a destiny, to have autonomy over my decisions and my actions. And you build your life by working backwards. A, you see the end result in mind and you work towards that. And B, you paint it on the wall and you look at it every day and you say, this is what I'm going to achieve next amount of time. And the next thing you see, all the no's start turning into yeses. And then the yeses turn into more yeses. Then you don't have to ask any questions because they come for you and they come looking for you and they want to work with you. And that's how the stream of things go.
Right. All
the no's, the repeated no's, are no longer no's anymore. And all, the people that were laughing, they're not laughing anymore. So don't get disencouraged by no's. It should just keep you more motivated to come back harder and better and stronger.
No, I completely agree. But I'm trying to understand, how did you even, when you were so young, whenever you graduated, you were so young, at that time, did you have a vision already, how the life that you wanted to live? Did you already have the vision at that time?
Yeah, I was really attracted to blonde girls, so I came to America to get married to a blonde girl, and I did. Yes, indeed. I always loved the American culture when I was in Germany as well.
Yeah,
the freedom that we enjoy here.
Yeah.
So it was going to be opportunity. And,
sure.
If you work hard enough in this country, you can get to very high places.
So American dream, basically, right? So you were attracted by the American girls and American dream, right? So
I wouldn't quite go on the girls thing. I had something envisioned in my mind.
Great. No, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, come on.
Sure. But chasing girls was never really my thing. I've always worked, and I don't remember. People think I go to holidays when I travel internationally, but it's usually always for a lecture or business meeting or something. And sometimes my wife tags along, but we're not usually there more than for 3, 4, 5, 6 days.
Yeah.
So for me, my career and my profession are more on the front line than vacations and weekends and all of that. So
basically, you are a workaholic. You like dentistry, or I should say, a dentaholic. You love dentistry so much. So you already had a vision, so that's great. For somebody who's graduating, who's young, I'm not young, but I'm just saying, somebody who's 25, 27, is there any exercise or any thought process that you have for them to envision what their future should be or should be like? Is there any specific exercises that they could do? What I'm saying?
Yes, to talk to as many people as they can and make it their own.
Okay.
You go to a dentist that has bad habits, you could end up picking up bad habits from that dentist. You go to a corporation that has bad habits, you could pick up bad habits from them. In reality, you have to make your own about what is right and what is not. But what I can tell you is I could have avoided a lot of mistakes that cost me millions of dollars if I would have consulted more and more people before I engaged into those type of situations.
Okay.
So there's no right answer. I don't want to preach and say, here, I know all of the answers, because I don't. I learn every day from younger colleagues, from older colleagues. So staying within the loop, I think, will help you shape and form your. And you cannot have a Ferrari right out of dental school. You have to. I mean, if that's what you're into,
right?
It takes time to build that up. So don't be convinced by all these companies that tell you got to buy this and you got to buy that, and you just need one or two checks to get started.
Yeah.
Then you surprisingly have a patient walk in with a big treatment plan, and then off and go. You're running, and you never look back. So you really got to make it your own. There's no such thing as a formula for success in dentistry.
Got it.
There's a formula for success in life, and it's pretty much
the same.
Theaters do, yeah.
So basically, work hard, talk to different dentists, see what actually clicks. Right? What makes you feel contented, what you like, what you hate, and then keep twisting, keep changing your vision, or adjusting, if not changing, adjusting your vision for what you actually want to achieve and what is important for you. Is this the right way to say it?
Precisely.
Okay, great. Yeah, so you travel so much. So how do you balance so much between your life and your family? Or honestly, there is no balance.
I mean, my wife is tremendous. I couldn't probably do it without her. She's very supportive and helps me to get from A to B on a daily basis, and takes care of our children, and we also have a system at home that works for everybody.
Okay, interesting. I'm sure people would like to know that system, huh? All right, jokes apart. That's interesting because I really get the surprise with somebody who's traveling so much, who's got 3 businesses going on together, along with dentistry full time. Global Summit, top 100 docs. Implant Extraction Academy, and still able to manage life. It's really hard. So you need support. You need support from your friends and your family to make it.
Oh yeah, I haven't come this far without support, and this is just the beginning. So there's a lot of people. You can't get far without support and having friends and people that enable you. There's a lot of people out there that enable me, and you've just gotten started, my friend.
Sure, I like that. I like that that tone and attitude. Thank you. Now, coming to that, why do you think ownership is so important to be successful?
Well, first of all, it's not me; it's the state laws. When you're not the owner of a practice,
right,
you don't have autonomy about the patient care. Everything goes hand in hand, from your material selection, the way you set up your room, to the way you schedule your patients at time intervals, to the way you select everything. When there's another person in the equation, it interferes with the patient-doctor relationship. Very simple,
right?
Set. Now you can twist it and turn it any which way you want. You can go out and set up unethically illegal entities in Nevada and Delaware and Florida, and somehow get a doctor to put his name on 10 offices for you. And so when the state legislatures are looking in, they say, oh, it's owned by a dentist, and then the dentist doesn't have any assets, and you own all the assets backed by a hedge fund. They can play all the games they want in this scenario, but at the end of the day, my recommendation for my colleagues is never engage with a corporate outfit if you're not the owner. They claim that they're coming in as a management group, they're increasing access. You have to have ownership of our profession, or soon enough, we're going to be working for big corporate outfits as technicians, and useless, pretty much. Going to be done. This is very important. 47 of the 50 states require dentists to own a dental practice. Yes. There are ways around laws. There's always ways around laws, but does it make it legitimate? They need to work for us, not the other way around.
Got it. So it seems like you're not very happy with the corporate, taking over the dental structure, and essentially in the long run, as we've seen in the past, happened to medicine, happened to optometrists, happened to pharmacology. pharmacists, what I meant, don't you think in the long run, they are going to take over anyways,
and I don't think so. I think they're gonna be a chapter in the dustbin of history. The fact of the matter is, look at their online reviews. Look at what people are saying about them. Look at the lawsuits they're constantly in. They have taken a noble profession that was between a doctor and a patient and turned it into a marketing function, which is shameless. They've come in, they lie about increasing access. They lie about who owns what assets. They keep claiming doctors own these operations. Mm-hmm. They waltz into our profession uninvited and turn it into a marketing function. People don't trust us anymore, chairside. Why? Because of these corporations. They don't trust us. They think we're lying. They think we're trying to get into their pockets because they go into these offices and get these exuberant treatment plans, and some guy that is not even a dentist is sitting at some executive office setting production goals. It's absurd. It's offensive, and it should never be allowed in our profession. So my only comment, and my colleagues, is make sure you are an owner and you have a say in the operation, or you're going to be kicked out of the door in a revolving door, and will blame you for everything that went wrong. They're pushing you for production.
Now I'm trying to be a devil's advocate here. Sorry if that. What I'm trying to ask is, you are a dedicated, hardworking man. I mean, you've been working, as I said, you're a very dentoholic, a workaholic. But how would you think? Not everybody wants to work the way you want to work. If corporate comes in and takes away my responsibility of, for example, getting a hygienist, getting an assistant to the office, and that makes my life easier. I'm not saying I'm doing it. I'm just saying, if any other dentist who follows with such troubles over and over, as you said, when you had 6 offices, you were throwing fires, you were extinguishing fires every day. And that's probably the reason that you even sold it. What I'm trying to come at is, why won't they really, what's stopping them to go to corporate and, make their life easier?
Stopping them from nothing. Either you're building your own dream or you're building somebody else's dream. What they conveniently do, they give you all these benefits, malpractice, maybe some health, a lot of promises that never materialize, and they keep all the equity. So you're working sometimes at these corporate offices for $500 a day. Maybe you get some benefits, but you're not going to be able to sustain and grow and create the life that you want to create if you're building somebody else's dream.
Okay. That makes sense. Okay.
Now, there is a place for them in society, in my opinion, in government-funded programs. That's where they belong. And in reality, and this is a noble doctor-patient relationship. Yes, you can ask Trump, why don't you go sell out our whole country and let everybody waltz in here because it's convenient for you? But why would he sell out America, his flag, his country, his love, his passion, his patriotism to some outside force? Because it creates convenience. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, if you're selling out our profession to corporate interests because they have hundreds of millions of dollars in the bank, how is that justified? They have enough lobbyists. They have been able to survive now for 20 years. They pick up one crooked politician here, one crooked lobbyist here, and get through their Senate investigations and always put fires out. But ultimately, the doctors that know and understand, they don't want to be part of this because that makes them sort of, in my opinion, sell out to dentistry.
Got it. No, that I think. What about if, for example, you are a corporate? I'm just saying, and you come to me and you say, Panks, I'll let you own the equity of the office, okay? And you run your show the way you want to run, right? But I'll help you out, and I'll take 10, 20%, 30%, whatever we decide to do. How do you think that would be? Would that be okay for somebody?
Is it between 2 dentists?
It could be between one dentist and a corporate. You could be one of the corporate, for example.
Yeah, if I'm solely providing management services that I don't have my hands in the doctor's pockets, I'm not trying to steal their equity, then yeah, come and help me grow. I'll pay you a la carte for services that you provide. But if you go and hire a doctor to put his name on an office and you pay him a stipend to get around state laws, that's just plain disgusting, and it's infuriating for our colleagues. and the legislators and the enforcers and the investigators aren't able to do anything. But ultimately, it's a switch in hand. These doctors that supposedly the owners, they don't own anything in a lot of the cases. They own some charts, and all of the assets of the practice, the facility, the building, the equipment is owned by some management company who's not even supposed to own any practices. In 47 states, they're not supposed to own anything. Doctors supposed to own. Mm-hmm. There's a very good reason why. It's a corporate practice of medicine and dentistry is prohibited, because it creates an interference with the patient-doctor relationship, because they choose the materials, because they choose the hours, the assistants, the staff, the agenda, the equipment, on and on it goes. It's all crumbles down to what happens chairside, which is between a doctor and a patient, and the doctor should have all of the say of what happens there.
Fair enough. All right. So I think I'll let the audience decide how they want to pursue, but as you're trying to say, as long as you own the office and a corporate entity, could be a DSO, comes in to help you grow, to help you, take away some of the pain points, and let you do good dentistry. That's still welcomed.
I mean, what pain points? If you have one practice, you have a good office manager, you have a good accountant, and you have a good lawyer, you have a good team.
People want to have more offices. Just because I believe they want to have success. That's how they define success, probably. To have more offices, more revenue coming in.
If they're a dentist, they're entitled to that. There's no laws or regulations preventing a dentist from owning multiple offices, satellite offices. It is what concerns us are these corporate interests or hedge funds, retirement funds coming in and sort of doing a switch of the authority. The dentist should never be told by some floor supervisor to go into a room and do 2 rounds and go into another room and do 2 fillings.
Yeah.
I've been in 300 more offices, seen it all.
I'm sure. I'm sure.
And they get away with it. And if something goes back and the young kid is been pressured to produce, they kick him out the door and they say, hey, he did it, she did it. Exactly. And take no responsibility for it. Mm-hmm. They're not our friends. They're our enemies.
Makes sense. All right. Thank you for sharing your opinion about the corporate offices versus the individual offices. Thank you for that.
You're very welcome. You're still in vast majority. Over 60% of us are sole proprietors, and they're going to have to put up a good fight.
Sure. Well, thank you again. Thank you for sharing.
You're very welcome.
So I think let's try to humanize everything. What I always ask is, you've been so successful in so many different ways. You've been to 300 offices, 50,000 followers, one big office where you're making more in 2 or 3 days or 4 days than we do it in a week or 10 days or 2 weeks. And just to humanize it, for all the successes that you've achieved, with 4.0 GPA and all around, please, if you can, share with us a hard time in your life. One hard event in your life that you were like floored. You didn't know what to do. And, obviously, how did you end up overcoming that?
It's been a lot of hardship. I used to do construction and put shingles up and paint walls and drywalling and all of that in undergrad to try to pay for my books in college. Particularly, there's always been hardship. I'm not from a very wealthy family. It was all earned by hard work. Mm-hmm. Everything I did and I've gotten. Okay. I had times when of financial distress, when you have essentially a gun to your head, you have payroll to make. There's been some very, very tough times, but one particularly that changed something. Not specifically. I've managed to resolve all the problems that came along and learn from them.
Anything in dentistry, or that you had to work hard towards, which you didn't expect that would happen, and it happened, and you were not, you failed. That's okay. One of your but how did you not have any failures or
I mean, clinical failures that beat me up personally for months. I had, and I think it was 2009. I ended up severing a patient.
I have some questions which I call them as Tim Ferriss Inspired Questions. And I'm going to ask you some questions. You can take as much time as you want. You can go slow, as much detail as you like. There is nothing right, nothing wrong. Just speak your heart out. So the first thing is, do you have any morning ritual before you come to the office or before you come to your business?
Yes, I catch up with. I get up. I do a few push-ups. Sometimes I run a little bit. Then I catch up with my emails. Usually my mailbox is full, so I have to make a lot of decisions at once.
Yeah.
And then I get ready, and if it's a clinic day, I head to work. If it's not a clinic day, then that continues throughout the day, and I'll try to work out somewhere in between, and that's pretty much how the days go by.
Got it. How do you? So you get like tens and hundreds of emails a day. How do you separate them in a way? How would you prioritize them? What is your sequence of prioritization, if at all?
So certain things do not get answered, but vast majority of the emails get answered because there's a lot of spam too. But you have to separate the emails. I usually put them in a box of things that need immediate attention, and that box usually has to be empty by the end of the week, or it just keeps staying in that box, which is annoying to me. So if I get emails, they get processed, they go through a system, they get allocated into a folder, and that folder is constantly my work and play area. So when I'm not doing something else, I need to be in that folder, making sure the people that have contacted me get attended to, be it proposals, be it podcasts, be it, people wanting to take courses, be whatever it is, or executives coming around wanting consultation. I've been doing a lot of corporate, not that kind of corporate, like products and so forth, that they send me products to evaluate. So I work a lot with them. I consult chairmen and CEOs of countless companies and their operations and what to do better to enter into the space.
Got it.
So it's an ongoing hamster wheel.
Got it. So,
but as the wheel goes, every year it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger.
Well, that's where was my next question going to. So some of the things have to be taken care of immediately or by the end of the week. Okay, that I understand. But on the other spectrum, there are some emails.
One particular event doesn't really come to mind. I always remember that case. I don't know if you caught a lot of that in the last segment, where we had the patient with a nerve damage, and it kind of caused me a good 6-month depression.
Wow.
Until that patient's scenario was solved. That was a long time ago. But out of that, it created a very big opportunity for me to further my knowledge and literature about the situation. So sometimes you'll have complications, sometimes you'll have really, really bad days, but you sleep it off and you shrug your shoulders and you get up and do it all over again the next day, and you'd be surprised you have a better day and things resolve themselves.
Great. I don't know if it's I'm prying a little too much, but do you want to share what happened with the patient?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, great.
Patient came in. I was sipping around 2008, 2009.
Yeah.
And wisdom teeth, got the patient teeth numb, did the flap, and went after a tooth that was sort of a younger patient that had a sac around it. And what I was cutting, I hit the nerve, and the inferior alveolar nerve actually got severed through and through. The next day, obviously she didn't have any sensation there or burning and tingling, and then I had to get her to the microsurgeon that sutured it up, and we didn't have any recovery for months and months, and then eventually she had about 70% recovery, which was great.
Yeah.
But during that time, you get depressed. You're like, oh, here goes my license, here goes my clinic. Here goes, I'm going to get sued, and malpractice and this and that, and then you work less and you're always thinking about it. It's just my personality.
Sure.
But eventually that little, I don't know, $69 the state was paying for those kind of procedures was certainly not worth the 6 months of headache and money's lost in trying to correct it. Sometimes you got to do good case selection.
Yeah.
Although I do all wisdom teeth, and I got into literature very deep after that and took some more training. I had done I'd done thousands before that procedure, and I've probably done over 30,000 cases, not single teeth since.
Yeah.
But sometimes you're gonna have the bad day, and how you handle that is the key. So every time you have a bad day, I don't let that discourage me. I just fight through the day, go sleep it off, start over the next day, and solve the problems.
Great. No, that's a very wonderful thing that you shared. Thank you. It's hard to share your vulnerable points, and you did exactly what you did there. So what were you talking to yourself? Hey, I did this. I know I'm under depression, but how did you talk yourself out of it?
The realities are in front of me now. Here are my options. Best thing, not to abandon the situation, give the patient the full care, show that you care. And the patient was really friendly with me, and I went to actually the hospital, brought her some flowers, talked her more through. She had already known, she had consented to the treatment plan.
Yes.
There wasn't really a case there, but the fact that I did it and it caused harm to somebody else was what was eating at me every day. Not because I was going to get sued and this and that. That's also there as well. I mean, that's a stressor there.
Yeah.
But you caused harm to somebody else that wasn't there before, and there's no way to talk yourself out of it. And what you can do is to really care. People are people. They understand that mistakes can be made. They understand that medicine and dentistry is not perfect. That sometimes everything doesn't go as it should.
Yes.
And they're not out to get you. But if you ignore them, you avoid the situation, you don't follow up, you let them hang in, then you got bigger problems. So slowly, my friendship with that person was very strong. And eventually, thank God, we had a vast majority of recovery. But it was a very tough time in my life. I was actually in the process of engaging to my wife, and it was just a big, big headache.
Wow. Yeah.
I remember vividly.
Yeah, there's always one time, right? There's always one time. And I think that's what humanizes us.
And membranes and CFG and concentrated growth factors. It's a $40 billion plus industry now, and I encourage our colleagues to learn more about that as well. It involves phlebotomy, it involves stem cells. So that's the future of our industry is minimally invasive procedures and regenerative medicine. So, 2 areas I'm involved in heavily.
How do you think dentists can utilize stem cells and phlebotomies and PRFs? I mean, what are the basic uses and advantages of using something or learning such a skill?
Better healing process for your patients, more predictable healing process for your patients.
Okay.
Things that you couldn't do before on a Band-Aid on steroids. Essentially what these membranes are made from your own autologously.
Yeah.
There are some allograft stem cell projects out there, Greece, some other countries, Poland I'm working with. But people want the least invasive and the best treatment for themselves. Mm-hmm. And if you don't cater to that, you're going to be left behind. It's kind of like the Invisalign era where you had all the naysayers, and then the orthodontist started doing it, and the dentist started doing it. Now it's mainstream.
Right.
You can expect regenerative medicine to be mainstream. It is the future of medicine and dentistry. Amongst minimally invasive procedures that required a minimum amount of damage or invasion or trauma.
Got it. That helps. I think somebody mentioned to me about the PRFs. I think Dr. Arun Garg, he teaches a course for that too, for phlebotomy and the PRFs.
Yeah, I was with him on Saturday.
Oh, that's where you were. Okay, great. Yeah. So, all right. So next, the most gifted book, if you have given any.
Contemporary Implant Dentistry by Carl E. Misch.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a great book.
I read that book page to page twice before I took my diplomate exam. Mm-hmm. And I really bonded with this guy. I should probably refer to him as with this legend.
Yes.
On a higher level, if you know what I mean.
Sure, I understand. Thank you. I think I get an idea, but for the audience, please share, comment more on at the higher level.
You start looking at a man that dedicated his entire life to dentistry and our cause. Start writing books, not really to write a book. Start impacting an entire profession. Right. You know, everything in our industry is new. We didn't have a high-speed handpiece in the late 70s. It was early 70s. They came with a handpiece that was going at 3,000 RPM.
Right.
They're all forefront of innovation and medicine. When people innovate and create something new that helps humanity, that's exciting. That's something they've done with their life to advance other people for his cause. That's exactly what Carl did. Mm-hmm. Dedicated his life to this profession, regardless of his other personal or which is irrelevant in this picture.
Right.
He wrote many books. He innovated things. He created something noble. Now you put something like that against some guy that's sitting on tens of millions of dollars, has nothing done for our profession, has essentially profiteered of our colleagues and patients. They're two different worlds. You can respect leaders of this industry that dedicate their lives to this cause, or you can respect these people that are not dentists, that have loud mouths, that are spreading lies, and you decide which leadership, which kind of leadership you want to join. For me, it was a very simple decision.
Okay, so and are you trying to be talking in terms of at least for higher level? The phrase that you used, was it more spiritual level?
Spiritual, yeah, spiritual and mental. I mean, this guy was like amazing to me, what he was doing and what he was researching, and the articles and the book, and the things that were said in the book. They still hold true. Sort of an idol for me, and someone to look up to.
Great, thank you for sharing. All right, next, what do people never ask you that you wish they did?
Why are you doing what you're doing? Why are you in all these countries? Why are you running around? Why are you setting up all of these academies? What is it that you're trying to create? Nobody ever asked me that.
I think I did.
You did to a certain degree.
Yes.
You went a lot deeper than others do.
Great,
but
thank you.
I want to set an example of what can be accomplished by a single doctor. Mm-hmm. How we can bring each other together once again.
Yeah.
And then gain control of our profession and pass that on to the next generations. That's what I stand for, and that's what I will continue doing. And there's not a force out there that's going to stop it.
Thank you. Great. Thank you for sharing that, because it's a tough question, and I've had all my guests have a trouble answering this question, but thank you for answering it. Okay. Any particular
my pleasure.
Okay. Any particular quote that you follow, that guides you, that you like, that inspires you? Anything?
Lots of good Gandhi quotes out there. In a gentle way, you can shake the world. There's a lot of them. You actually got to give me a couple of seconds to think, because
sure.
I do post a lot of things from a lot of different. I'm very fond of Einstein quotes, like doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results is the definition of insanity.
Right.
That's always good. That'll keep you from making the same mistakes. There was one from that South Africa gentleman that talks about first they argue with you, then they try to discredit you, then they fight you, then you win. At the end, you win. So I've been playing by that quote for 12 years. The people that were laughing again 10, 12 years ago, they're no longer laughing now.
Yeah.
Yes, quotes are always good. They remind us of very important lessons and teachings, and they can be very powerful. But yeah, quotes from Gandhi, Einstein, that kind of those have always excited and impacted.
Great, thank you. Now, when you think of a person being successful, who are the first two people that come into your mind? They could be alive or dead, doesn't matter. But when you think of a person being successful, what are the two people that come to your mind?
I think the first person that comes to mind is my father. He's successful for having built a good family, good additions to society, cared for his family. That's what I identify more as success versus financial. So there's more to it than just income and status and I think the most important and most successful person in my life that I look up to would be my father.
Great. Any other person you might?
On the professional level, there's many I look up to, but again, there's more to success than just being good at one thing. If you're good at one thing and you're terrible at the other, you're not really successful.
So let's go back to this question. This is another question I'd like to ask. What is your definition of success?
Definition of success is to excel in your own life, to create a person that others can look up to, that others can work with, to bring people together, to create a good family, have good values, to be a value to society versus we have plenty of people that are successful in this world. We need people that are contributing more to causes. So success, in my opinion, is multifold. It's certainly not financial. Financial is numbers. Numbers are human made. It's not reality. It's just what it is. Numbers. So right. You can't measure success by numbers. Satisfaction in your life. Are you happy? That's part of being successful. Part of being successful is to motivate others to succeed. So many things come into play when you talk about success, but it's certainly not financial.
Got it. Thank you. If you could go back in your career or life and change one decision, what would that be?
I probably would have I should have taken my MBA right after school or before when I went to dental school. I'd have shaken the world a long time ago.
All right. Seems like you loved your MBA degree after you did, because it gives you it opens your mind to respond to what was happening in Chicago or Illinois when you were in.
Correct.
Okay. Well, I asked the next question, but see if you still want to give another blow to it. What's one of the hardest decisions you had to make over the past year?
Decisions I had to make over the past year.
One of the hardest decisions.
The hardest decisions I've had to make the last year. It's a very good question. Nothing comes to mind really. The hardest decision I had to make in the last year. I'd have to circle back on that one.
Okay, that's fine. Did you have any advice for younger Dr. Kianor Shah?
Yes, I have great advice for them. After school, don't let those debts scare you. You need to take one more blow, which means start associating with another doctor for a year or two, and then make it your own. Either buy that doctor out or set up your own place. It's going to be one more challenge, one more hurdle. Then you can start building the life you want. make your own schedule, work when you want, don't work when you want, take care of your family. You don't have to ask permission from anybody. You're not forced into C that you don't want to take, so you can benefit these entities. Create your own vision, create your own life, create your own destiny.
Got it.
Don't let these companies run over you because you have a little debt. They will put you in a worse situation. In 10 years, you wake up and you have nothing. That's the best advice I can give my colleagues. And let's gain our control over our profession back, eh?
Okay. Yeah, sure. Now, what is one habit that you think makes you so successful?
Persistence.
Great. Thank you. If you have a giant billboard such that you could display a great message or a quote for everyone to follow, of course, not about your company or your podcast or anything, what would you like to tell people or the dental world?
Treat others like you want to be treated, be it in your clinical practice, be it in your personal interactions. Treat others like you want to be treated.
Got it. Thank you. Do you think you have any ideas about the hardest decisions? I'm trying to circle back if something is clicking you right now.
I had to let a staff member go. That was wonderful worker, but quite tardy. Wonderful worker chairside. Best assistant I've ever had. Had to let her go because of tardiness, personal hygiene issues, violation of sterilization protocols in our office. So that was a very hard decision to make. But sometimes just because they're good at one thing doesn't mean they're the best fit for you or the best fit for your patients.
Wow, that's really hard. So you have such a successful office running pretty smoothly. What do you think? Why do you think the staff or the team member actually stays with you for such a long time?
Because we don't work them like we respect. I mean, we don't work our employees like they would in other offices. They're not running around 8 hours a day from room to room, missing things, running. It's just a zoo. Very slow paced. It's pleasant to not to be able to talk to patients, set them down, and work with them. That type of thing.
Okay, thank you. Any other advice for our young associates, young dentists, or your colleagues? We obviously talked about, the corporate versus individual practices. But other than that, do you have any other advice or thoughts to share to the dental world?
Yes, thoughts in terms of. We are in in my opinion, in a recession-proof environment. When people up their skills, there's tremendous problem, the oral epidemic, and I do global forecasts for these at different conferences. Tremendous upside for us. We are essentially, in my opinion, recession-proof. So you entered a wonderful profession. We can keep it that way if we just work together. If a fraction of our doctors, our dentists worldwide, work together as closely as these companies do, they don't stand a chance. And another thing is, you're in a lot better situation to move and mobilize locally than these corporations can. When they want to make a change in their operations of 100 offices, they got to dish out millions and millions of dollars. You don't have to. If you want to work with the local community, you want to sponsor the local events, you want to go to the chamber. There's a lot of things that they can't standardize. So we're in a lot of better situations and positions to chase them out of our communities and neighborhoods by actually competing with them head on. And their doctors don't have any say. The policies are dictated and emanate from a corporate office.
Sure.
You have all of the control, and you can make decisions that benefit your community, benefit your patients, and benefit yourselves a lot better than they can ever dream of moving. So we are actually in a better competitive place than they are. They would want you to believe that they have all the monies. I have companies that have billions of dollars that can't get 100 doctors into a room to present to them. They come to me to make that happen. All their billions aren't worth a dime if you play your cards right.
Wow, that's a strong message. Thank you, Dr. Kianor Shah, for all your time and patience to answer all the questions and taking part in this long-form podcast at #POD, Podcast of Dentistry. Thank you. If you want to see who I have for the next episode, please hit subscribe to #POD of Dentistry on iPhone, Android, and all the other common platforms. The website where everything lives is rightly called as Podcasts of Dentistry. If you are interested in being a part of our amazing group, please join us on Facebook at podcastofdentistry.com/Facebook. I'll see you there. Best wishes from Panks Dhingra.